Hello and welcome to Core Finance. I'm Matt Brown and you're joining us for the CEO segment. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome back onto the show Mick Billing, who is CEO of Thor Mining. How are you today, Mick?
G'day, Matt. Well, thanks, and nice to be back in the UK with lovely weather.
It's not so bad. It's been actually, we had a bit of a washout in August. But more importantly, you had an update yesterday with Thor Mining to the market. So briefly, just give us an outline of that update, and we're going to look at a few other parts of the company.
Yeah, sure, Matt. We announced yesterday that we had completed the drilling program at Pilot Mountain, where we had focused on two deposits. One desert scheelite, which we've been drilling for some time and seems to keep growing, and the second one at Good Hope. Perhaps to do with Good Hope for a start, we have found that at Good Hope there's possibly a relatively small but very high grade looking beast there that where the mineralisation starts right at surface. We had 27, 28 metres or thereabouts of 1.1% copper, 1.3% zinc, and along with reasonable tungsten grades, and tungsten is was the prime focus for being there. So
and this near the surface as well.
This mineralisation started basically right at surface.
Brilliant.
We stepped out a bit, the other side of a fault, missed it, came back in again, found a little bit more. It's not going to be large, but it's going to be quite tasty, I suspect.
And tungsten at the moment is performing very well, so certainly that helps your company.
It is. Tungsten's gone up a bit over 60% so far this year. To put it into perspective, copper, which I think most of your audience would have a pretty fair handle on, trades between $6,000 and $7,000 a tonne US. Tungsten about $31,000 a tonne US. So that means a little bit of tungsten can go a long way when it comes to dollars. The second thing we did at Pilot Mountain, and we're pretty excited about that, is intersected some depth extension to the desert scheelite deposit, and also appear to have come through an extra zone of mineralisation on the way through, which we had always suspected was there, but so far had been unable to find. We're waiting on the grades from the assays. The grades are reported on the Good Hope deposit are from portable handheld XRF units, and they've got to be followed up with formal assays. The desert scheelite, it was done with diamond coring, and you can't do XRF work sensibly with XRF, so we'll have to wait for the assays, and I guess 3-ish weeks time we should see those.
So that's the expected turnaround. And other projects you've got running at the moment?
As I think most people are aware, the project we have most ready for development is Molly Hill, also tungsten with a bit of molybdenum. The increase in the tungsten price that we just mentioned, I think that puts us pretty close to the front of the queue, I suspect, in when it comes to getting a new tungsten project development financed and up and going. The Tungsten Industry Association has its annual love-in, for want of a better word, each year. This is coming up next week in Moscow. I'll be there pushing the case and pushing the barrow quite strongly. But we've done some work. We think the costs for both capital and operating costs at Molly Hill come down from the last feasibility study. We're not quite finished redoing that yet, but we'll do at some stage in between now and Christmas, I hope. And I suspect that that the conditions are pretty good right now for development at Molly Hill.
Fantastic. And you mentioned copper. Do you have any other projects involving copper?
We've just recently, Matt, invested in a company in South Australia who are farming into a copper project in South Australia. The Kapunda copper deposit is about between an hour and a half north of Adelaide, where I live. It is the home of copper mining in Australia. That's where it started. They were mining some very, very high-grade stuff, putting it on carts pulled by bullocks and down to the port, and then put onto a boat back here to the UK in the 1800s. The deposit sits right on the edge of town. It is not suited anymore to conventional mining. We're looking at in situ leaching of this, and in situ leaching of copper is practiced in the US and in Russia. It's also practiced extensively throughout the world in uranium. So we're not breaking very new ground, but we are encouraged because the copper tenor of the groundwater in the mine is quite high. So we think it's leaching naturally. We have the work to do to establish that we can do it commercially, but we do, importantly, we do know that the mineralisation is there, the drilling's been done, there's quite a few tens of thousands of tonnes of copper there at Kapunda to be got at. We have to make sure that we can get at it economically, environmentally, safely, and we hope to be able to demonstrate in the next year or two, but we won't be doing a whole bunch of exploration drilling to see if the deposit is there. We know it's there.
Understood.
We hope and I suspect the resource estimate for Kapunda will be out in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Super. So lots to look forward to for investors. In the meantime, Mick Billing, thank you very much for joining us today.
Matt, nice to see you again.